Just thinking about it. Okay, welcome, good morning. This is the first episode of what is now the new podcast. So we did an episode of this last week, which was called A City United. With our unprecedented success that we've had in the last week, we've decided to promote it. We've decided to change the name of it. And although Ewan is in his United shirt again today, and I am sat here in a City top, and Oase is again laying in bed with nothing on probably because he can't be bothered to get out of the thing. And this is the last week in its current format where it'll be just about the two teams, or the two main teams from Manchester. The new name of the podcast is The 12th Man, often a reference used in football to the fans and the groups of supporters behind them who could have a massive impact on the game if we were allowed back in stadiums, which obviously we're not at the minute. But we are the 12th man. We are the voice of the fans to a certain extent. And like I say, we're going to expand this away from the Manchester clubs, and we're going to take the little minions underneath us. So the Blackburns and the Burnleys and the Liverpools, whoever you support, you are free to join, and we will have different guests each week, starting with the Hyndburn PE department, Miss Southwood and Mr. Delve, over the next couple of weeks, but expanding, because never content and never want to stand still. We have already had contact from Blackburn Rovers College, so I'm reading the email here, who are interested in sending some of their coaches onto our podcast, potential for ex-players or current players to come on as well. So let's shatter any barrier that is in front of us. Let's make this as good as we possibly can. And let's kick it off by saying, good morning, Ewan. Good morning, Oase. Thank you for coming back for your second bite of the cherry. Are we okay? Everything okay, Ewan?
Yeah, good. Excited for first episode.
Looking good and feeling good. Oase, are you awake? Have you got the sleep out of your eyes? Are you with us?
No, my sleep's still in my eyes, but I'm good.
That's okay. You're going to need to get that addressed in your own time, not on 12th man time. Right, topics for today to discuss. Last week's action, two big games. We played both teams, Manchester teams played both Merseyside teams. United, Everton, City versus Liverpool, which we'll talk about hopefully in a bit of depth. The second topic of conversation is that both Manchester teams made solid progress in the FA Cup. One was a bit easier than the other. One was not particularly good to watch. The other one wasn't too bad, but we will discuss that in length as well. We'll look ahead to the weekend's action. So City play Spurs, West Brom versus United, and then a new feature. That's a dodgy alarm there. A new feature is the team predictor, of which I'm going to ask my special guests and co-creators and founders of the 12th Man to predict their team to play a stubborn Sam Allardyce side at the Hawthorns, and I will give my prediction as to how we break down the inevitable bust that will come to the Etihad by Jose Mourinho to Tottenham. Okay, let's kick it off. First one, I'm going to start with Oase. Okay, last week's action, 3-3, a last-minute defensive howler. Is your goalkeeper good enough? Is your centre-half worth £700 million or whatever he's worth? Is he fast enough? Was it another blip along the way to a better season, but ultimately not a title season? What are your thoughts, Oase?
It just went defensively. It went bad after. Personally, I think it went bad defensively after Pogba went off because he got injured. So kind of sad about that. And yeah, because now if City win, then it's like basically the titles. Basically, City's now they smash Liverpool on the weekend as well.
I think I'm just going to jump in there on your point about Pogba, because I know it's been, although we're on episode 2, a constant theme and a constant topic of conversation between us two. I'm going to give a slight shout out to another master of analysis in terms of football at the Manchester clubs. If you're on Twitter, look out for Pundit J. All right, Pundit J tells it as it is. It actually speaks a lot of sense, and he has got this major issue with Fred. He is a Pogba fan, and he hates Fred, and he's got some interesting stats that back it up as well that suggest that Fred's impact is a negative one generally, and that he thinks that Pogba can have a better role to play in that respect. I know that last week's argument wasn't necessarily about Fred. I don't think he was actually really included in the conversation. But interesting that Oase thinks that Pogba missing maybe changed the game. What are your thoughts, Ewan? What did you think? Is Pogba the answer, or are you still sticking to your guns on it?
No, well, I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that Fred's not the best player, but I think with the system that we play, I think with Fred and McTominay, that's how it works best. And McTominay getting 2 goals in 2 games further proves my point that he can do the role that Pogba does and provide more defensive cover. And I think, to be honest, the only way to sum up the game against Everton without going in on individual players is that we've got an attack that can win us the league, and we've got a defence that without that attack would be sitting at mid-table down with Arsenal. So I think, defensive howler, Maguire, he's never going to get dropped, but it's the only way that we're going to move forward is to sign a quick, strong, assertive centre-back.
Can I just throw my iron into the fire on this one? The first thing, I'm a centre-half by trade, of which I've never been employed by anyone to be a centre-half, so I don't know why I say that. But as a centre-half who struggled with pace as well, I can sympathise to a certain extent. He was concerned, he dropped a little bit deeper than he should have done. I've got to be asking major questions about my goalkeeper. And it's not the first time that this fella has had major questions over in the last 2 years. And there is a lad sat on a bench who had a great time at Sheffield United last year. He had a lot of shots to save because it was Sheffield United, a newly promoted team. And if I was a United fan, I would be saying now, Ollie's got to draw a line in the sand. And if he's not going to win the league, and he keeps playing it down, and I think probably the realists amongst the United fans realise that maybe it's his season too early, why does he not play Henderson for the remainder of the season? And why is De Gea undroppable, does it seem? Because if my goalkeeper came out in no man's land like he did there, with the lack of authority that he did, and ended up doing nothing, I would be screaming for Ederson to get dropped. Or if that was Joe Hart would have been dropped in previous seasons. Why is he not getting dropped?
He's stubborn. We've seen it throughout his career. Ollie is a manager. He refuses to make subs. He constantly wants to keep the same team, no matter performances. And I think his way of trying to get players out of a bad blip is to play them out of it. We've seen it with Martial at the beginning of the season. He was playing terribly, and he still is really. But he didn't get dropped only until recently. We've seen it with Rashford a couple of times. He's been playing terribly and hasn't got dropped. Maguire, Lindelof, throughout the whole team. He's too stubborn, and I think a stubborn manager can either help the player or hinder the player. But in a situation where our defence isn't the best anyway, a stubborn manager isn't what we need.
Ace, are you a fan? Not of Ollie, I know that's the case. You know, you're riding high, but if you were the manager, would you drop De Gea? Or are you thinking Henderson's too young, not experienced enough yet?
I don't know, because De Gea, in my opinion, is one of the best shot stoppers in the world, because he can become the best goalkeeper ever. Not ever, I mean just in the world. He's just too good, but he makes too much mistakes.
Well, that for me is a major factor that would hinder him from being the best goalkeeper in the world, because the best ones for me make the least amount of mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. That's fact. That's human nature. But does he make too many for a top team?
Yeah, because even a few's too much.
I agree. 2 or 3 mistakes a season leading to goals is a problem for a goalkeeper. They're going to drop the odd clanger here and there. No goalkeeper is perfect, but I don't think we're talking about 2 or 3. I don't think over the last three seasons we are talking about 2 or 3. We're talking about half a dozen minimum of goals, of mistakes that have led to goals or situations in which he could have been better. And you would expect from a goalkeeper of his stature at a club of United standard and playing internationally for Spain, you would expect much better. Moving the topic quickly on, I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on this. I was obviously delighted on Sunday evening after what was quite a cagey first half. It reminded me of the derby before Christmas, where neither team particularly looked like they wanted to win it, where the wonderful opportunity was what was a definitive penalty. We missed it. But every credit to Ilkay Gundogan, because he's been the best performer in the Premier League for the last 2 months. He comes back with a vengeance with 2 goals. Phil Foden sparkles at Anfield, and pressure on another goalkeeper. I want to take away the fact that Alisson did make some mistakes, but I think City win that game without Alisson's mistakes anyway. I think we're a team in the ascendancy, and I think we're a miles better team on the day. One thing I would like to say is that although it was clumsy from Ruben Diaz and it was a penalty because he put his hand on him, the reaction from Salah was appalling, and it's not the first time. There is a real problem with that player and his likeability. I imagine even to Liverpool fans, because if that was my guy, and I've criticised Sterling in the past because he's done it once or twice, but not every single time he's touched, and to throw himself in the manner that he did was embarrassing. Embarrassing to Liverpool and embarrassing to the player. I thought we were well worth it. I said to you before the game, it was a must not lose game, and we did what we needed to. We'll preview later the Tottenham game. I still think it comes down to winning the United game in 2 or 3 weeks' time. If we do that, then I think it's title over. But we are in a very, very positive and strong position. Was there anything away, so Ewan, that you saw in Liverpool to suggest that they might catch us, or are you fancying yourself to finish ahead of those guys this season?
Yeah, and I agree with you for Salah as well. My respects for him's gone well down. Even me and my brothers were kind of shocked when that was given as a penny, because it was I don't know.
I think it was a pen. I think he's put his hand on it. It was a pen. So I agree that it was a penalty. It's the overreaction from Salah which is the problem.
Yeah, I think I can't remember which pundit said it, but I think it was after the City-Liverpool game. But they said that it's ruining the game, and I don't want to get into VAR too much, but Roy Keane said it in the past, and it's not even that players need to toughen up. It's just that pull that Diaz did on Salah was nowhere near his reaction. You know, like may have stopped his momentum and put his shot off target, but it was a penalty, but it shouldn't have been given, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think under the new system, under VAR, that's going to get given a penalty all day, and I'm okay with that now because I'd like to think that that's consistent, or it's getting there consistency-wise. I know there was some issues with Souček at Fulham at weekend, which has ended up in a rescinded red card. There is still problems, but generally those are given as penalties in VAR times now. Okay, you can accept that. Diaz made his first mistake in a blue shirt. He should have dealt with the ball, and he didn't, which put himself in a problem. He was wrong side. Well, yeah, the overaction is too much for me. It makes me dislike the game that people are getting away with it to a certain extent. I would almost be tempted as a referee in that decision, in that situation, to award a penalty and then award a yellow card for the excessive reaction to the contact. That would have made it fair, in my opinion. Right, moving on. So both teams move into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Both teams will be absolutely desperate to win the FA Cup. Ollie's still looking for his first trophy at Old Trafford. I didn't see much of the game the other night, but I heard it was absolutely appalling. Not the greatest of games, which obviously went into extra time. Thank God that McTominay put it to bed, just before the end of extra time. 30-second roundup, because it sounded dreadful. Was it as bad as it looked and sounded?
Yeah.
I think that's probably about as much as we'll say on that. So obviously there is only Bournemouth left from the Championship in the draw. There is Barnsley versus Chelsea tonight, but I fully expect Chelsea to come through that tie. So it is an all Premier League quarter-final, bar Bournemouth, who were obviously a Premier League team last year, but a recent change in manager. Liverpool are out, Tottenham are out, so I think City and United will be desperate probably to avoid Tottenham, Leicester and Everton probably, and would take any of the others left in it and hope that they get knocked out somewhere further down the line. A 15-second review of last night, very, very, very comfortable in South Wales. Nothing really to worry about. We got fortunate probably with the first goal, but beyond that we were strong. I was disappointed to concede, but 3-1 at a good Championship team with the changes that we kind of rotated and made in our team was good. So I look forward to tonight's draw, which I think takes place just before the Chelsea game. I think it might be is it on the One show? It usually is on the One show, BBC One. Anyway, look out for it before 8 o'clock tonight for the draw. Okay.
Could I just say there as well?
Yep.
I think we've got to win the FA Cup.
Okay.
Because I mean, if you just ask me, you're pretty much going to win the Prem if you keep going the way you're going, and you're in Champions League. You're about, so we've got to win the FA Cup to make sure that you're not getting close to that precious treble that we still hold.
I'm going to cast your mind back to a couple of years ago as well. We obviously hold the domestic treble as well that we're still on for. Still being in the FA Cup, we're in the League Cup final. If we could win an unprecedented quadruple, I'm not going to talk about these dizzy heights. However, it is nice being in February, still having the option for all 4 competitions. So we will see, but we fancy that FA Cup as well. So we'll see what happens. Right, looking forward to the weekend. Okay, so first up, City versus Spurs. I won't spend too much time talking about current form because in that case there is no current form for Spurs. They are quite woeful at the moment. They thought they'd turn the corner at weekend against West Brom. Harry Kane comes back and scores, and all of a sudden things look rosy. And then they go and concede 5 at Everton yesterday in the FA Cup and get knocked out, even though they scored 4 goals themselves. So I don't think Tottenham come in any great form. City come on 15 wins in a row, which, by the way, is a new record. There's only 2 teams previously who had done 14, which is Preston and Arsenal. City take another record on Guardiola. I fully fancy City to continue their assault on the league. I'm going to go for 2-0 City on Saturday for the game. Do you care to give us a prediction as well, boys, for the game?
3-1.
3-1 to City?
Yeah.
Okay, and Oasis, what are you saying?
5-0 City.
5-0 City, okay. If that's the case, then I may be smoking cigars when we come back together on the first Monday back, celebrate a 5-0 victory against Mourinho. I'm going to make a bold statement here. He may be in trouble, Mourinho. If he gets a heavy defeat against City, he could be in trouble because the league form has tailed off. They're out of now both. They're in the League Cup final, but playing City, and they're out of the FA Cup. Is it progress? Have they gone backwards under Pochettino? Maybe that's one for after half term. Okay. Going to West Brom. I find this a difficult one to call because he's got to win at some point, Allardyce, hasn't he? He's got to get a win. He's got to start putting points on the board. And we saw what happened with United and Sheffield United the other week. Is it going to be a banana skin, or are you just going to keep the pace up with City? What's it going to be?
I think right now, if we'd won at the weekend against Everton, I'd be probably saying 4-0 to us. But I mean, we're not really in the greatest form, and seeing that performance against West Ham, and really there wasn't that many changes. There was a couple, but it was a good squad. I think I'll be happy with any result for that game, but I'll go 2-0.
Okay, 2-0. Oasis, got anything to add? By the way, I'll let you go first, Oasis, and then I'll chuck you my prediction. What's your score prediction?
4-1. United.
I was going to say, I thought you went West Brom then. I'm going to go rogue, and I'm going to go 1-1. And the reason being is that something has to click, and he actually looks better against the better teams, Allardyce. Remember, he got a draw at Liverpool, which is now looking like a bad result considering the last 3 games that they've had. But I think he's better able to set up against teams that he knows that are going to attack him. Because I think defensively he is quite good, and to have that organisation and that onset from the start, and then possibly pick off on a break, I'm going to go for 1-1. Okay. Team predictor. I'm going to kick you off with this. City's team almost picks itself at the moment. A couple of spanners in the works here, which I'll say is Aguero is back training, as is De Bruyne. I don't expect either to play, or certainly in Aguero. I think Aguero's got more of a chance to be on the bench at weekend. He might get 15 minutes, but I certainly don't expect him to start. I've got a feeling he might mix it up top. Gabi Jesus is in a little bit of form, but I think he knows that Mourinho's going to be quite stubborn. So I think he wants players to interchange, is my feeling. So I've got a feeling that he'll play a midfielder in a striking position. So I'm going to go for Ederson. I think he'll play Cancelo. I think he'll play Zinchenko. I think Stones and Diaz will get the partnership back together. Rodri took a little knock the other night, so depending on whether Rodri's fit, it'll either be Rodri or Fernandinho as the holder. I think Bernardo plays. I think Phil Foden plays. I think Sterling plays, but might end up becoming and converting into an attacker. I think Mahrez probably plays, and then depending on whether he does that change at the top, he may decide to bring in Jesus. I've got a feeling he might be on the bench and be an option from the bench if things aren't quite going to plan. And like I say, if Aguero does make the bench, I would expect him to get 10 minutes maybe just to try and ease him back in, depending on how the game's going. I think we all know that Son and Kane are going to play for Tottenham. The rest of their team is maybe up for debate. Lamela scored last night, so maybe Lamela comes in. The back four seems pretty consistent. Sanchez got 2 goals last night, so I think Sanchez stays in their team. But yeah, I expect Mourinho to park the bus, City to be patient and break the team down. What are you saying about United?
I mean, it wouldn't be my ideal team, but I think he will stick with De Gea. And then same defence, we see Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. I'm not sure. I think Bailly's still carrying a bit of a knock, so I'm pretty certain he won't play. And then in midfield, McTominay and Fred. I think because Pogba's out, that's only what he can play, and that's what I would play. And then I think he's got to go Greenwood, Fernandes, and Rashford, and with Cavani at top.
Brilliant. Awais, you got anything to add? Would you mix it up? Would you do anything different? Or are you happy with Ewan's team?
Personally, I would try to fit in Donny because I just like Donny a lot. And like, I don't get people always talk about Martial, but Rashford has loads of bad games this season, and so I'd play Martial in the squad over Rashford right now.
Okay, two lads who struggle with the offside trap, but on the day can be very, very good talent. Excuse me. Personally, I back Rashford over Martial. I think Martial's had longer in and around the first team. He's had too many opportunities and he's not quite settled for him. I agree that both have got things to work on. Rashford being the younger of the players, I think he's got time. So we'll see how that goes. But again, great to have opinions, and that's why football is football, because we all think slightly differently, and we'll see how the results go out for the weekend. I will just take this opportunity to thank my two gentlemen for coming on today. So thank you to you, and again, thank you to Awais for calling out of your pits and getting on to the podcast. This is the second recording of our little get-together. However, it is the first of the 12th man. This is now going to go out again for people to see on the YouTube channel, and hopefully we get to change the direction in which we go on that first Monday back after half term. We open it up to everybody and we see what kind of thing comes back from it. Gentlemen, as always, if you could stay on the line just for 30 seconds whilst I finish this. But I appreciate your input today. Let's see how the results play out. Come on, City. Go away United is the nicest way I can possibly put it. And let's hope for some positive results, certainly for City. And maybe my draw prediction is correct at West Brom. Okay. Thanks, gentlemen.
Cheers.